Welcome to the Two Regular Teachers podcast. My name's Rick Kayla Thompson.
My name's Adam Lavaz. Thanks for joining us for episode 22. And Rick, we're welcome back, Cotter. We're back after the summer.
It's a new year, Adam.
It is a new year.
And I guess it's a new series, even though it's episode 22. It is a new series.
You could almost call it season 2.
You could call it season 2.
After last year, we could.
Oh, hang on. The inevitable second album. It's always tough for second album.
It's very tough indeed. But we're back, and both of us back for the first day today. And very different for us this year, isn't it?
It is, and we have to say to our listeners that we're proud of ourselves because it is the first day back with students today, and we're still churning out a podcast. We are committed.
Well, we're committed to our fan base of 5. So, we are. And I was talking to you before, obviously, that this year you're teaching grade 6. You've gone up and actually followed some of your students up.
Stepped up 1 year level. So I was hoping to go to grade 6 for a few reasons which I won't go into. But as it's turned out, I've kept the same home group. So it was actually nice driving to work today, knowing that I was going to sit down in front of students that I had already built relationships with, and things just went off. It was like getting on the bike again.
That's right, and they know where you stand and all that stuff. And as I was saying, I've gone this year from 5-6. I've made the transition all the way back to 1-2, and I'm exhausted.
As we discussed last year, how tired are you after today?
I'm absolutely exhausted.
How many questions did you get constantly?
It's too many, and actually, it's funny because I've gone from a wonderful 5-6 class where they'd be comparing iPads or comparing clothes. I've gone back to this wonderful 1-2 class that just simply comparing teeth. How many big teeth have you got? I've got 4, I've got 5, and the mouth goes open and they show you, and then they want to come over and show you, and I've got a wobbly one, and that's what's important.
That's what's important. Look, it is, and I'm sure there's people out there, particularly Australian teachers, Victorian teachers, who know what you're going through, Adam. That big jump from the senior levels to the younger levels.
And I want to preface it by saying I love it. I think the 1-2 is going to be fantastic, and it's tough because I had a wonderful 5-6 class, much like you, that you know them really well. I knew them really well. They were wonderful. So to come back is a challenge, but it's a challenge I'm keen for. But again, it's the questions. It's one of them puts their hand up to answer one, and then they all want to tell you about it. So it's on for all money, but it's great. So
it is. And look, I guess we're excited about that because with starting the podcast again, we're both in different classrooms, different year levels. Hopefully, we'll have some different stories.
Yes,
and I'm sure throughout the year we'll also tackle some issues that we tackled last year because teaching is a cycle, Adam.
That's it, and it's the same at any year level that you teach, isn't it? And I'm just waiting for my first vomit. I'll come in one day and I've had my first vomit on the shoes, or the first runny snotty nose, or something like that. So
I'm sure you'll share it with our listeners.
Oh yeah,
and we thought before we kick off into our topics today, we thought we'd just give you a quick recap on where you can find us. Obviously, we've still got our blog, which we will post out there for you with links to the articles. You can find us on iTunes and Podomatic. If you click on the About Us link on the blog, you'll find those. But we've also started a new Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook if you actually search Two Regular Teachers, and we've got a YouTube account. So the episodes will be going onto YouTube just to put ourselves out there a little bit more. So the YouTube link you'll find easy on Facebook. We have had a few people share with us that they'd like to be able to find us on their smart devices easy, on phones and things. So
and that's where they're going places on the train, in the car, things like that. So we've tried to take that feedback on board.
All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. Well, Adam, the first topic to kick us off for 2015, I noticed an article. I was jumping back into Twitter about a week ago, and I saw Andrew. Thanks to Andrew Williamson, who's a follower of ours, who posted a link from The Conversation, which is an online website. Yep. The article's called "Ditch the Home Readers. Real books are better for your child," and it was written by a lecturer from the University of Canberra, a lecturer in literacy. Yep. And I thought, with you moving down to grade 1, and with I guess a lot of teachers setting up their home readers at the start of the year, we could maybe analyse the article. It was look. The article read as a message to parents about maybe dropping the home reader routine. Wasn't it
did, and look, my kids were all over it this afternoon. They were ready to give them out. I said, no, we're not ready to do the home readers yet. So they're all over, and I haven't really had a lot of experience with the home readers because I haven't actually taught down there. So it was a really interesting article, though, that he was quite happy to really smash home readers. So he didn't hold back, did he? He was quite willing to say, look, the home readers are rubbish, and we shouldn't be doing it, which I don't agree with. I don't really agree with.
No, I can see your point, and I'm going to try and for our listeners, I'm going to try and take on the other point. Just for the. I think what he was trying to say is, and I think some of us know this, and he does mention this, that there are series of books out there that are mass produced for this purpose, for home readers or for guided reading, and that there are probably some sets out there that can look relatively boring for students these days. But I think There has to be a place for these sort of books, doesn't there, Adam? Because they're made to support that.
They are made to support that, and if they're reading at a level 16, for example, then that book is written specifically to support a student who needs that at level 16. They need to be reading certain words, certain sentences, introducing new vocab. It's specifically for that. And okay, I understand that they're not the most interesting books in the world. Sometimes you flick through and go, oh, geez, it's not the most interesting book in the world. But the home reader, sometimes it's actually not the point. The point is for them to go home and practice what they need to be learning so they can keep progressing. So by the time they hit grade 3 and 4, they don't need those readers anymore, and they're ready to sort of move further into real world literacy, I suppose is the way to say it.
Yeah, and in big schools, Adam, like I work in, and you need sets of books, and I can understand schools buying a lot of these mass-produced books because you just need as many as you can get.
You do. And we don't have a never-ending resource of money. We don't just go, we can just buy $2,000 worth of books to really update it. We don't get that. We have to kind of make do with what we've got. So
look, he makes a point that research has indicated that these commercial reading programs spend too much focus time on word analysis instruction.
Yep.
But he does mention that a teacher that differentiates their instruction is really how kids learn best with reading.
Yes.
But I think that's what teachers will be doing anyway.
Yep.
So the home reader is just a backup, just to practice the reading.
Exactly,
skills.
And it's not as if I've got 25 students taking home the exact same level reader. I mean, there's 10s and 13s and 20s and 25s. I'm not going, right, you 15 over there take 16, you 15 take 17. Just have a go at it. It's already been differentiated, and you're right, it's to back it up. And that's what the student is doing, to go, right, I've got the lesson today. I'm going to take this book home to further implement what I need to be working on at home with mum and dad. And it only takes 10 minutes, really. They're not, 50-page books, are they?
No, that's right.
It's not The Hobbit.
No, it's not
Let's
The Hobbit.
Let's be honest.
It's not The Hobbit. They are. Look, at the start of this segment, you said that you had problems with the article, and I'm guessing where your problem lies is some of the options that the writer gives to parents.
Wasn't happy. I actually read it as I went along, going, well, what's the difference? What are you going to tell us to do instead here, matey? Or are you just going to can it? That sort of stuff.
Look, one point he does make is that find books that you can read with your child that they will love, and I have nothing.
Me either.
But he does. But I got a bit lost. I thought there might have been something really poignant about maybe how you could use home reading and home readers in a different way, but he more or less says go to the local library, speak to your librarian, let your child make the choice. Now, I think if a parent's going to do some of the reading with a child, that's okay, but we know that particularly some struggling readers will choose books that maybe their friends are reading that are just too difficult for them.
Absolutely, and they'll, if they're at a level 16, they're not going to want to go and pick up, Percy Jackson. And oh, mum, I want to read Percy Jackson, no worries. They're not going to understand 90% of that book, and they're not going to enjoy it and get anything out of it. And if anything, that's going to turn them off reading. Well, I can't read these books and I don't want to read them and it's too hard for me. I just won't read. And that's the way it does happen sometimes.
I mean, he does say, suggest going out to your library, but I mean, a lot of schools still do have libraries, and we're lucky enough to have a librarian still working with us who has great knowledge. So I think they're the people you go to because they have that sort of extra teaching side knowledge of what books might suit, and then being able to match genres with what kids like.
The other thing I didn't like was the fact that it doesn't matter if you choose a book that's too difficult if you're reading it to them. Now, I don't mind that. I mean, we do it. I still do it, and we'll read store. I mean, I even did one this afternoon, a bit of Jack and the Beanstalk, because it's one of the fairy tales there, and they enjoyed it. And but if you're continually going, well, it doesn't matter, I'll just choose a book for them to read and it's not too hard, they're not actually doing the reading themselves. And okay, it's good to expose them to the literacy and good to expose them to the vocabulary, but they still need to be reading it and practicing it and practicing the sounding out strategies and everything that goes with it. If you're just reading it to them, it's not really doing the job, is it?
Well, my final word on it is, Adam, why can't we do both? Take your reader home, but obviously, but go and get some great picture storybooks as well from your local bookstore. Yeah, there's some good ones out there.
There's nothing wrong with that. Go and encourage them to get that, and that's it. Go to the local bookstore or go to the local library. There's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty there. Go and get a few, and supplement what they're doing with some of those more enjoyable ones, and that way they can hit both marks, can't they? Yep. So anyway, but I love reading, mate, and I know you do too. And it is an interesting one because I know some parents work a lot, and the home readers, it can be a bit of a chore, but it is necessary to me. It is necessary to supplement their learning with these home readers.
And we'd love to hear comments from teachers who are experiencing setting up their home readers now. Well, Adam, it's still summer here in Victoria.
It doesn't feel like it, does it? We've had some horrible days.
It hasn't been the hottest summer, no. But we've just come out of the summer holidays, obviously, for teachers and for students. And there was an article just before Christmas, so we're going back a little way, but we'll post it to the blog. In The Age, 3 out of 5 children leaving primary school in Victoria can't swim. Shock statistics reveal.
Now, what's the definition of can't swim here? Is it can't do a bit of doggy paddle? Can't
Good question.
just flubs around?
It says that it does say in the article that I guess to be able to swim. It says that children aged under 12 cannot swim 50 metres without assistance or stay afloat for 2 minutes. Now, it says that that's the yardstick to determine swimming standards, and 60% of children in this research couldn't do that.
So they're trying to tell me that 3 out of 5 kids can't stay afloat for 2 minutes, just move around in a body of water for 2 minutes.
Well, I think
that seems far-fetched.
It does. I think back to our swimming sports last year. There were some students that couldn't swim 50, but they were swimming the 25-metre races.
50 metres, I mean, I think they're underestimating the fact that's a decent way, 50 metres, and I think under a bit of pressure, kids can swim the 50 metres. But it is an interesting statistic because swimming is something that always divides a lot of people, teachers, parents, the kids. It divides them a lot, doesn't it?
It does. It says that the research came from the only reference I can find is the Principal Research Association. I'm not sure if that's the title or not because it's not really all in capitals, but. So I can't really say whether they surveyed primary schools or not, but there's a quote from the department saying that swimming is always an essential part of the school curriculum. It has been since 2005. It's always been an essential part, at least in some areas of the school for the schools I've worked at.
Well, for where you are now, it's important that they do it because you're living on the coast. I mean, it's such an important part of their culture and lifestyle.
Well, this is the point. Where are these kids coming from around the state who can't swim? Because as you said, I've been at a school that is by the coast for the last 2 years, and I remember the swimming sports last December. There were just a huge plethora of students who are just sensational swimmers. But I guess that could be just the upbringing and the location of where you live. Yeah,
it could be, and that's right. Someone in the middle of Australia without a pool and without that stuff. Of course, if you go and drop them in a body of water, of course they're going to flub around and not know what they're doing because they haven't had that opportunity. And that's where these sort of articles to me not annoy me, but you go, where are these statistics coming from? Are you coming down to the coast and talking to kids down here, or are you going into Central Australia and going, right, who can swim, and going, oh well, the standards aren't good enough?
There is a comment from Swim Australia who say that that perhaps it's got something to do with migrant families, like maybe in some of those more metropolitan areas with multicultural populations that they're coming from countries that don't have a huge onus on swimming because it hasn't been as part of their survival or part of their recreation. There's another part in the article that does say the Royal Life Saving Society of Australia did research that indicated 1 in 5 children could not swim to minimum standards. It is a concern though, if that's the because what Australian holiday doesn't involve a beach somewhere.
You talk to any families and where they go, even if they're going, say, to an Echuca or Bendigo or something, they're always going to be going to the local pool there. They're going to the pool, they're going to do that. Other people go to Torquay, Anglesey, Jan Jark, go down the coast and do that stuff. What are they going to be doing? They're going to be at the beach, having a swim. Lots of families have pools too in their backyards now, don't they? So I do. The other thing I want to bring up about it, we talk about migrant families and they've come over, and migrant families can find it a bit more difficult to find the finances to do these things. The price of swimming, unfortunately, is always a real sticking point. Now, when you think about it, you do 2 weeks, don't you? Most schools would do 2 weeks of swimming. It always comes between that $800 to $100 mark. And that includes, you'd think, 5 days in the week. That's 10 swimming lessons. You factor in the bus, that's $5 a lesson, or around about $5-6 a lesson. That's actually not too bad. For a half-hour lesson, $5 to $6 is actually not too bad. It's just that lump sum, $90, you got to pay for it. If you've got 3 kids, that's $270.
Perhaps some families have issue, Adam, with having to do swimming lessons through primary school if they're already supplying private lessons for their children. But you're right, and we talked about it last year. It's another one of those costs, extracurricular costs that most parents have to fork out.
And what I think is the Royal Life Saving and all those things, if they want it to get up there, why can't they bring in a program that goes to schools that subsidises the swimming program? If it's so important that, instead of it being $90, we're going to subsidise half of it and put in money to schools and it will cost $40 or $50 or whatever, then parents will look at it and go, you know what, I can handle that. That's I can see where that's going. I can see it's been supported. I'm more likely to put it in there, or a school can support a family much easier if it needs to.
Yeah, so we thought we'd bring that up. If you've got any stories about how swimming works at your school, look, sometimes it only happens in the younger levels, but I know at my school it happens sort of across the board.
Yeah, it does ours too.
Oh, look, I think it's really important. It's just part of our culture.
Yeah, it is. And look, swimming lessons bring back bad memories, mate. That black block that drops to the bottom of the pool.
Oh, I remember.
I sucked getting that down. I tell you what, I would go down there and flounder around. Horrible. I reckon I was in level 2 in year 7.
I was
That's how bad I was.
I was a good swimmer, Adam, but somewhere along the line,
Yeah.
I missed how to dive. I cannot dive.
No.
I belly flop it every time. I don't have the technique.
I'd pay to see that. So what we might do in the coming weeks is get Rick down to the local pool and see if he can produce some good belly flops for us.
Keep an eye on the YouTube account.
So Rick, the last topic I want to look at is something that came up just recently in the last couple of weeks, that VCE results were released a little while ago, but also the uni courses and the offers to get into uni were released. And I always enjoy getting on there and thinking back to the grade 6 students I taught in that year. Sometimes it's hard to remember them all, but actually going and putting their last name in and see if I can find them and see if I can find what course they decided to do. And I've seen some do nursing, some doing graphic design, and I have seen a couple over the years doing teaching. And something that stood out to me, and there was an article in Herald Sun that we'll put up as well about the standards that is required to get into the teaching course these days, and how it's probably not as difficult as it should be. I know I saw the scores that a few got in was something like 60.47, and you think about doctors and surgeons and things have got to get 98s and things. This is almost a 40-point drop-off just to be a teacher, and I think it's a relevant topic. Because they were talking about the literacy levels of aspiring teachers being a concern.
Yeah, and I think that 60.4, did you say?
Yeah, 4.7. Yeah.
4.7. It's not all. That's not across the board. I think some universities
Yes, I think you're right.
have higher score levels, but it is a concern. And this article certainly delved into some of the research, delved into some of the awful mistakes apparently that came up in tests that some undergraduates in teaching have taken. But we'll come to that in a minute. But it is concerning. I think it's fair to say that teaching as a course, as a career choice, needs some kind of buffing up, and the current government is saying that. I think it needs. You're right. It needs some kind of lift. I think to make it look more attractive, but also to filter out those maybe people whose skills are not good enough.
And I'm certainly not saying. I know the ones that I saw get into teaching, I was stoked. I thought, teacher written all over them. I thought they'd be fantastic teachers. It was just that score, and you're right. I mean, I remember when I finished year 12, all I needed was year 11 maths, general maths, as part of the prerequisite to get in, and I just think that's not right. They should be doing year 12 maths and going all the way through and showing that they have a really thorough understanding of it to get into the course, because they're going to be getting in and teaching kids all the basics, and they need to understand it. If they don't understand it, how can they teach it?
It's been nearly 10 years since we've been at university, hasn't it? So
it has.
I can't speak right now for what the content is, particularly in a primary education course. But I think I agree with you. I think there should be some rigorous maths study. Let's talk about maths for a second at university, because if you're teaching grade 6 like I am, at some point during the year I'm teaching algebra, and I'm teaching formulas, stuff that will come in
fractions and all those things.
Stuff that comes into the early high school, because the article did say that the study that they were looking at was of 200 secondary teaching undergraduates. Now, but that is a concern, because obviously we've got secondary teachers who are teaching more specific subjects in English and so forth.
And it's funny, mate, that you should mention that, because I was actually talking, we've got a new graduate who was actually talking to me just the other day saying, I'm already thinking about maths, that I'm going to have to go over a lot of the maths criteria and all that stuff again, because I don't know it. It wasn't taught to me, in uni, and I've got to go over it again. And I thought back to when I started, I had to do the same thing. Get the book out and just go over some of these things, because it had been so long since I'd had to use it.
My mental math skills are much better than they were before I started teaching.
Jeff, I can blitz year 12 maths now. I'd dominate. I bring it on, I'd say now. Whereas back then, I'd have no idea,
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far for me, for year 12. But that quick recall of facts is but that's the job that's helped me. I don't not what I did at university.
No, I agree. But it also helps the kids. If the kids can see you confidently up there doing maths or spelling, and they're not continually going, Miss Lavaz, you left an S off there, or you've done those things, that rubs off on them that this teacher I've got in front of me knows their content, knows what they're teaching, so therefore I feel confident to learn it as well, that what they're teaching me is correct.
Angelo Gavrielatos, I think that's how you pronounce it, the president of the AEU, mentioned, he just had a quote, teaching is a specialist degree. And he said it needs to be given more kudos. And I think if you think back to, like we've been talking a lot about what students are doing in year 11, 12 to get into teaching. But
Yep.
if we think about mature age students, now I was classified as a mature age
Yep.
student when I went
Yep.
back to uni. I was only 22, but I think it was 21 and over.
Yeah.
And I had to do what they called a stat test, so which was a bit like the GAT that you used to do
Yeah.
in year 12. A
They
general
still
knowledge.
do that, by the way.
I think they do.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think they do. Yeah.
a general knowledge test, mainly English and maths, and I remember thinking that I did okay on it, but I did a lot of practice in the lead up.
Yeah.
I was concerned that in that sort of short space of about 3 years when I'd just been working part time, that maybe I'd lost some of those skills, and
Yeah.
it was going to come back to haunt me getting into teaching.
It'd be so easy to do. It'd be so easy to miss that stuff, and that's right. And you don't expect it when you get your first job. You sit down one day and you're doing some planning, going, right, this week we're doing fractions, and you sit there and go, fractions. How do I add fractions again? I've forgotten how to do, and how to carry and do those things. You've got to sit down and do it again.
Yeah, and look, and the article's not talking about. I mean, look, everyone makes a small mistake here and there.
Of course,
I mean,
of course.
even I've said to the students before, like, how I might write a word on the board that I haven't written for a long time.
Yeah,
and I think,
yeah.
does that look right?
Yeah.
But I think there's no excuse for even doing your own study. Like,
Yeah.
if you're teaching apostrophes and there's one form of apostrophe use you're not sure, well, just double check.
Yeah.
Double check because
Not before.
because the kids don't know. I mean, some might, but you know what I mean. You've
Yeah.
got to have that.
Yeah.
But to me, especially with things like grammar and that, you've got to have that.
And it's a
understanding.
great fear as a teacher, isn't it, mate? You're teaching them the wrong way. You've done it up there, and then you get 3/4 through and you go, oh, geez.
Yeah.
I've just noticed that it's not going to work. That's actually not the way I do it. That's the greatest fear.
Yeah.
And so that's why doing that extra research as a teacher is imperative, isn't it?
So we'd love to hear opinions, particularly maybe from any listeners who are secondary teachers about what they believe should be taught in the lead up to, I guess, to choosing teaching, and should teaching be should the enter score be upgraded?
Now, Rico, first time for 2015. It's anecdote time. You've had 6 weeks to think of something. The pressure's on.
Well, the pressure is on, Adam, but I realised today that the anecdotes really can only come from your own practice. So I'm going to talk about today, Adam.
Yeah.
Now we've been on holidays for near on 5 weeks.
Yes.
And you get into different routines on holidays.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a rude awakening, and I hope people can agree with me here. It's a rude awakening coming back to school and being governed by the bell.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you can sympathise here. By about 10 to 9 today, I was absolutely busting to go to the loo. Like, just pain, like almost ready to double over, and realising I still had another hour to go.
Yep.
And unbelievable. And I started getting a bit hangry. Not hungry, but hangry. I could feel it coming on,
Yes.
but I suppressed it.
Yeah, I was at 10:30. The guts are rumbling. We were doing an activity, and I was sitting there. It was the that. I'm going, because now I go, I'll go and get a snack. I'll make something like that. And you are governed by that bell, and it's the same going to the toilet. Your body doesn't go, hold on, I'm back in a schedule here. I just feel like going whenever I feel like it.
Now, sometimes, Adam, if you're working in an open space like I do, you can sometimes, if there's an independent time, maybe ask a colleague to duck off. But it was the first day. I was all over the shop. But then at snack, or at recess, I go to the loo, engaged. Couldn't get in.
No.
Someone else was in there. The anger bubbled.
And then you walk around, you're trying to walk it off, don't you? Try and walk off the wee a little bit, and no, I'll hold it off and stuff till someone comes out. But it really is. But getting back into the routine as well, like I'm in a new classroom, with new people and stuff, and I've had an aide in my classroom for the last 3 years, I don't have one now. We sat down to do an activity on respect. We had the big letters we were going to collage. Forgot to blow up the C. So as I'm putting them out, I had respect, right? So I had respect. I'm looking at it going, panicking, going, what have I done with the C? And the kids are going, I think you're missing a C. And that sort of stuff. So thankfully,
grade 1, very good.
Grade 1, no, great. Grade 1, very good. They were next door. Thankfully, there's an aide working next door. And I quickly went, can you blow up this C for me? Because normally I was over in the BA with a photocopier, so I could have just quickly run over, blown it up, come back, Bob's your uncle. I'm different now. So it's not even so much the bell. It's being in a new area. Respect. So we were showing some respect for our peers today.
And just as a side topic, there's not many jobs where you go, excuse me, can you please blow up this C?
Yeah. That's right.
Look, and government, and I don't know about you, but I've been, once again, been in a different routine. And let's say on holidays I've had a day of gardening. I've been eating lunch at midday, 12:30, normal times, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I was told to eat lunch at about 1:40 today because of the lunch break.
And not even 1:40. By the time you get over there, it's 2 o'clock. It's almost afternoon tea time.
Absolutely diabolical. Now, and I'm going to say, I've got to think of the kids here, and this is where sometimes if they're a bit restless or need to go to the loo a little bit more, I think we have to cut them some slack because they've been in a different routine.
And I had a lot of kids wolf down their brain food at 10 o'clock today. I reckon they inhaled their strawberries. They were just straight down because they've been home just going, Mum, can I have this? Yeah, no worries. They've been governed by the bell too. They're under the pump. So that's fair, mate. It takes time to get back into it.
It does, and it is. And the final rude awakening, isn't it? Is that breaking the routine is actually just being like your mind's switched on in a different way, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
it is,
I think at 3:32 today, when everyone had walked out, my two colleagues and I actually looked at each other, and there was this this sort of exaltation of, like, I'm naked. It's pathetic, but still, I'm sitting here with you. My throat's sore.
Yeah, mate. You haven't talked this much in 6 weeks.
No.
You haven't done all that stuff, and you almost do this. It's like you've run a marathon. You sort of slumped over. You didn't get any drink on the way. That sort of, you sort of suck it in, and but it does take time. But
so look, we'd love some people to share their first day trials and tribulations. I do know there is one other person that I work with who saw the engaged sign on the men's toilet door today when I happened to walk past at the same time.
So we hope no one got worse and actually wet themselves halfway through the day. So we'd love to hear from you. So Rick, I've got to say, mate, finish the episode off. I'm really happy to be back. 2015 is going to be a great year, and
it's going to be great. It's going to be a great year, Adam. We've got lots of things to look forward to. There's a few little events, and we're hoping to have some special guests on throughout the year, intermittently.
Yeah, that'd be terrific. Yeah, I think so. And I know you want to give a bit of a shout out before we finish off, mate.
Oh, look, great, fantastic, very close, dear friends of mine had their little girl their firstborn start school today at the school that I work at. And I went over and said good day at lunchtime. I just want to give a shout out to them. They know who they are, and I actually saw them at the front gate. We had a morning assembly, and I saw these guys and their little girl at the front gate having that moment from a distance, where walking in together, and I was able. They did look over it eventually, and I gave them a wave, and I kind of got this flood of good feeling, Adam. I just thought I really look forward to that day. I mean, look, school. A lot of people have issues with school, but I tell you what, it's a great day.
It is a great day
when you must send your child.
And seeing that from a distance, but seeing the pride in the parents' faces, and they get a bit emotional and things like that.
And that trust, like you're handing over to a community, you're now saying, you're bringing another community into your family.
That's right. That's a great way of putting it, actually. So that's great. And look, and I know there's a few listeners that from my school that are parents and stuff that had their kids go off to high school that I've taught for a long time as well. And I actually saw one this morning who was very emotional about their kid going off to said it was the son. I know you were lying. They're just going off to high school and things, and it is a wonderful moment. And I was thinking about them all day too. I missed them today. I hope they went really well too. So look, mate, we're looking forward to more episodes. And I've been Adam Lavaz.
I've been Rick Taylor Thompson, and we've been Two Regular Teachers.